to the bold analysis. There are two blunders that have costed William Ruto first 8 months of the UDA regime. And in this podcast, I'm going to expound those two blunders. One of them, William Ruto mismanaged Uhuru Kenyatta transition and he will regret about it. Secondly, is lack of public participation. Just hold it there. I want us to look at this issue I've just been so consistently and intentional about. Do you remember the government-to-government oil market deal, between the Dubai and Kenyan government? In that deal, Kenyan government was supposed to buy oil, or rather to get oil consignment from Dubai within the first 6 months as debt or in credit. And so according to it, because it started in March, we are supposed to make the first payment in September. And in that September, the first installment of the credit is 70 billion. Now, this deal was highly applauded. And the government said that because we are going to buy oil from Dubai in credit, it will reduce a scramble for dollars by the oil marketing companies, because nearly a huge percentage of the dollar demand in this country is for the oil marketing companies that want to import the oil. So it was aimed at two things: reducing the pressure on the shilling, on the dollar demand for dollar, so that it can strengthen our shilling. But that has failed. And actually, the exchange rate is now standing at 140. Ladies and gentlemen, it is record high. So I wanted to understand up to that point, William Ruto promising, and I want to play these two sound bites of William Ruto promising drop in the shilling to improve. And even Rigathi Gachagua went to an extent asking those who had dollar reserves to release the dollars, because those dollars will be rendered useless in the next few days.
All those Kenyans, business people, investors who have been holding US dollars for speculation purposes, please offload your dollars to the market today and tomorrow. It's very honest advice from a truthful man. But with what has happened, freeing 500 million US dollars to purchase fuel every month, the demand for the dollar will come down and the shilling will gain, and we don't want Kenyans to lose money. So those who have been holding dollars everywhere, hoping that it will continue going up, it will go down, starting today, tomorrow, the day after.
My economic advisor, Deputy Mohammed Hassan, Davis Chirchir, and the young man at EPRA, those four gentlemen have done something phenomenal in our country. They have managed to put together a program that has taken us away from looking for $500 million every month to buy our fuel needs, which was slowly snowballing into a crisis. In fact, in the next 1 month or so, you will see dollars coming down, the exchange rate coming down in a very phenomenal way. In fact, in my estimation, in the next couple of months, the exchange rate will come below 120 shillings. maybe 115, you never know.
So that was William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. So let me tell you, what has changed will really shock you, and what government is doing next. Because that deal has turned out as a big hoax, or for lack of a better word, a big con. But before we get deep into it, allow me to remind you about Sarah's fundraiser that we are finishing on Wednesday. We've been supporting this lady, and I want to say thank you to the Bold family. We stood with Sarah throughout her sickness when she was diagnosed with acute leukemia. And after going through chemotherapy for 1 year, we lost Sarah on 26th. She went to rest on the other side of life on 26th of June. And we are standing with the family during this time to help offset the bills, the last expense, and the welfare of the son that has remained. And that's why we are doing the 100 shillings challenge. And we will be finishing that will be on Wednesday night. So thank you for those who are supporting and those who are also pledging. I think we'll be in a position to do that by that. Now, let me tell you, the sources are now saying that William Ruto has dispatched a delegation to the United Arab Emirates to renegotiate some fixed terms of that deal because government cannot achieve its target. 2 months, by the end of September, we are supposed to pay the first installment in that government-to-government oil importation deal. But 2 months to September, government has realized that they may not meet that obligation. And amongst the team, in the team is EPRA. EPRA is Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Director General, that is Daniel Kipto, David Ndii, and amongst others. They've been dispatched to Dubai to try and renegotiate that deal. Let me tell you, something has just happened, and that is why I'm saying I don't know whether we have really competent people. Globally, the prices of oil has changed a bit, but that change in the global prices of oil cannot reflect in the Kenyan context at the pump. Do you know? And you can challenge me on this. I have my viewers from Uganda and Tanzania that oil is cheaper in Tanzania and Uganda compared to Kenya. And I remember, I think Nation running with a story that drivers are crossing over to buy oil in Uganda, in not Kenya, because it's way cheaper that end. Now, this is what has happened. Kenya, you know, we gave a deal to oil marketers to import oil, 3 companies to import oil here to Kenya. Then all the other 96 oil marketing companies to buy oil from the 3 companies in Kenya and supply to others. Now, 40% of the oil that is imported in Kenya is normally sold to Rwanda, Uganda, DRC, Sudan. But what has happened? Kenya is losing because other oil marketers have opted to buy oil from Tanzania. And now they're not buying oil from the Kenyan port. They're using the Tanzanian route. Even though, what I'm just realizing is the cost of transporting oil, the Tanzanian route to Uganda, Tanzania ni mbali compared to Mombasa route, the Kenyan route. But they're still making a higher profit margin than if they buy the petroleum products from Kenya. So that number one, because of that G2G, government to government deal, we are buying a very expensive oil because we got ourselves in a commercial contract. The prices have changed that we are supposed to benefit, but we cannot benefit because we were caged in some sort of a contract with the United Arab Emirates companies. Now, coupled with that number one, Kenya is losing because oil marketing companies are going to Tanzania. Number two, with the introduction of 16% of VFT, the fuel consumption in the country has gone down by nearly half, has reduced. So the 16% was introduced for government to collect more taxes. But what has happened is what Raila was saying, that let's go to work by foot and deny William Ruto that tax money. That statement was ridiculed. But another industry experts in the energy sector are saying that the sales have gone down. So twice, there are two punches that government had. Oil marketers are going to Tanzania. Number two, in the country, the oil consumption has gone down by nearly half. So you know where we've got ourselves? Why Ruto is sending this team to Dubai? In this Dubai deal, there are Kenyan companies that were supposed to be guarantors. This is KCB, NCBA, ABSA, and I think Cooperative Bank. These banks were put as guarantors in the sense that if the companies that are importing oil fail to pay for that oil, then these banks are going to pay. But we are still importing the amount of oil, the metric tons of oil that we agreed, liters of oil that we agreed to bring in the country. So like we had agreed, I think 300,000 metric tons, if I'm not wrong. But consumption has gone down. So you know where we found ourselves? We found ourselves to be having a lot of oil in the country while the consumption is low. So there is what is called market glut. So what is happening? The banks are also now withdrawing for that deal. Kenyan local banks are withdrawing for that deal because we have oil in the country that cannot be sold. And so, even the September first installment that they're supposed to make, the 70 billion, government may not be able to meet that obligation because we have idle oil in the country. Now look at that. Look at how we've gotten ourselves into a quagmire. And I was reading this story, following this story. The team that was dispatched to Dubai were requesting for the renegotiate the repayment commencement, the period of starting to pay. They're asking for the adjustments, probably not for it to be paid in September, but for it to be increased because we are suffering. Look at it. And that is why you wonder really, is it about not being sensitive, or how did we get ourselves into this? And I've been so consistent about the Dubai deal because I think if you want to get more about this is the podcast where you should get it. I'm the only person that touches on this because I've been following it ever since. And this is what I'm saying. William Ruto has gotten himself into this quagmire either by making or maybe by being surrounded by people who are not really competent. Let me say this. William Ruto mismanaged Uhuru Kenyatta transition, and that is messing his government. You know, you cannot come into power and to want to believe like that you are starting everything from scratch. There is that which has been done. Before even this government-to-government deal was arrived at, those people that are in office, the new faces that are in office, even the president, they needed to sit back and say, okay, fine. Has this ever been done in the past? Has it ever been tried? Where did it succeed? What was the structure? How did it go? How best can it be implemented? So when the moment we attacked and dented the track record of Uhuru Kenyatta, we created a culture in government offices where decision makers cannot even pick files the last 5 years or the last 10 years because everything that Uhuru did was wrong. That's the first blunder we did. We mismanaged. And even those who advised Uhuru Kenyatta, we caged people, we clamped them together and believed those were evil people who did not know what they did. I see President is on record saying, calling some Uhuru CSS as very stupid people. Kama wale wajinga. I think I've seen that. If the president himself has bedeviled and has, pushed people that worked Uhuru Kenyatta as people who are not reasonable, then even those who are making decisions now do not think of what Uhuru did. So we've lost the institutional memory. And what we are doing is some copy-pasting. I want to believe that this deal has never happened in this country for the first time. But if you do globally realize that it has worked in some country somewhere. So someone just sits down and finds, okay, this has ever worked there, without looking at the dynamics. Number two, we are here because William Ruto is surrounded by people that cannot be told and do not want to listen to others. Poor public participation. If this government-to-government deal was to be done in a manner that all the players in the energy sector, the input is considered, we wouldn't have got ourselves into this. I've seen a consortium of oil marketers, I think in the East Africa, the ones who are giving this report that oil consumption has gone down, and other experts had warned. But President Ruto believed David Ndii, the EPRA, and some few fellows around, these are the people that have the answers to the problem in the energy sector. You will even realize that lack of public participation is at the center of CSS that have been pushed out of office. It is at the center of many court cases that government is losing. And I think it's high time that William Ruto changes his style. Consult, Mr. President. Consult. The team around you do not have answers to all. We have other people. Consult even the private sector. Don't just believe those who are in government. Lastly, Ruto is surrounded by incompetent team or just deal makers, or rather wealth makers. That in anything, people are just looking at what is in it for me, not how Mwananchi is going to benefit. I wish Ruto decides, number one, pick the files that Uhuru Kenyatta used that are rotting in the shelves. Open those files. So as you move other projects, other government projects and other policies that are being done, you reflect and say, what has been done in the past? Has it succeeded? Has it ever been done in Kenya? What are the situations around it? How best can it be done? Instead of copy-pasting. You'll be told about how Singapore was, successful and now Kenya is. Those stories apply to specific countries. In Kenya, we need to customize our policies and our projects according to the size of our belt. Otherwise, I am telling you, the first term of William Ruto will be a lot of experiments, a lot of pilot programs. You cannot pilot everything. If you pilot something on affordable housing, then you should not pilot something on energy. If you pilot something on health, you should not pilot something on energy. You need to balance. You cannot try everything, because when you try, you realize that there is a lot of trial stage. After 5 years, you'll have nothing to show. That's my bold. And make sure you remain in this podcast, because I'm coming back with another update on this. Very critical. So after this video, watch next video. You will like it. It's still on this.